So how's it going, guys? What have you been up to?
We have just released, as you know, our debut single, Best Life. And we are trying to promote that, get it out there, get people to actually listen to it, hear it. And we're making preparations for the release of our second single. I don't think we have a date for that set yet, but it's called Delaware. And it's another fun song. Um, so we're excited about that.
Great. Well, as somebody who went to college at the University of Delaware, I'm very curious to hear that. So,
I can't wait for you to hear this song, man. It's yeah. It's not all about the state of Delaware, but
Not at all.
but well, we should be talking about Best Life, but I do think that people who like Delaware, love Delaware, are gonna be like, yes, finally.
indication.
Yeah, so maybe we'll do another one, when Delaware comes out, because we're hoping Biden, gets to hear it and is stoked.
Could be a campaign.
The state delegates, state delegates, maybe they want to make it the state song.
or a campaign song,
Yeah. They want to appear in a video. We're taking submissions.
So, I'm very curious about the evolution of the band. I mean, you guys have been playing together for a while, but you've just adopted the Dear Daria name. Tell me a little bit about that.
Eamon?
Yeah, sure.
Who wants to
So
go first?
yeah, I'll take it. So essentially, I was sort of like the latest one to join the band, even though it's been a few years now. And right away I could sort of pick up on the chemistry that Josh, Scott, and Maryjo had together, and they were super welcoming, and it was really easy to sort of get into that flow. And I think after playing a number of shows and writing a number of songs under the Maryjo Mattea moniker, it just became apparent that everyone was contributing ideas, and whether that was like lyrics or song structure ideas or riffs or whatever, everyone was just sort of growing an influence in like the music that was being made. So it just kind of felt like, unfortunately we couldn't see what was coming down the road with the pandemic, but around that time it just seemed like the right time to let the band become its own thing, and that way everyone would feel that he or she had the amount of space necessary to contribute to it and could really take ownership of it. But yeah, like I said, we just didn't see the pandemic coming down the road, so it was a bit of a shock to the system to sort of adjust to that and continue writing and making music, and especially this whole record throughout the worst of it.
Yeah. We had about half of the record that he's talking about. We had about half of it written. We'd been playing the songs at shows. They were ready to go. We started recording them before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit, and we had like half of 5 songs done, and that was where we were at. So once we were able to safely go back to a studio and start adding the parts to the first 5 that hadn't been added, we finished those up. But then writing the rest of it in seclusion, like at home independently, that was challenging.
I would say that like we did hit our stride pretty quickly. After a couple initial stumbles, we got really comfortable in like trading song files with each other or sharing parts and then tweaking them from there. And everyone was, mindful of the fact that this whole process was completely new to us as a band. So, of course there'd be some mistakes or, hiccups along the way, but we powered through it. And, I was really shocked at, just how quickly things came together, especially once we finally got into the studio to record the rest of the material. Because there were several songs where it was just like, bam, 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 we were knocking them out so quickly. And it kind of felt like we, even though we had been separated for so long, once we were finally all in the same space, there was like so much pent up energy. It was so much fun to make music together again and be able to talk about the music at the same time in the same space. And We had been working with our engineer Ben Green for also a couple years and like a couple of different tracks and EPs now. So we were all just sort of like really comfortable with each other, and that sort of shorthand that develops with those connections was there and really easy to tap into.
It sounds like ultimately the pandemic was good for your creative process, for moving this thing forward.
In some ways, yeah. In other ways, no. So, we are forced to sit with the kind of the demo versions of stuff for a little bit longer, because that instant chemistry that you get being in the room with each other is not there. So when we have initial ideas, if we're able to be in a rehearsal space, we kind of like hash stuff out kind of quickly. In this scenario, obviously we like have ideas, and then you might have to sit with it for like a week or a week and a half. And then because you have that time, you're starting to kind of like think of maybe not taking the easiest path, like maybe doing something a little different. And then the longer you kind of sit with it on your own, I feel like kind of a little bit, everyone contributes their own, from their own place. So their own identity is getting infused into what's going on. But the longer you sit with an idea, it's like you just kind of build more. It's like more you that's coming into it, instead of just the knee-jerk reaction, which is your instinct, which is great. That's what we build off of. But like, I feel like the ideas that were kind of coming from these scenarios and they were just like going that extra step further every time, so we were in what would have taken probably like another year or well, maybe another year, who knows, but like to push the songs forward a little bit more, instead of just being like, oh well, these songs we'll just bang them out, demo, we were kind of pushing our songwriting as a group like onto the next level by being forced to sit with them a little longer, maybe trying stuff that we wouldn't necessarily try the first time around, having to sit with them. But then other stuff, I mean, the problems that come from like trying to figure out these little nuances, the transition parts and things like that part unfortunately is hampered by not being able to be in the same room with people and be able to just like, wait, go back, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay, you and I need to be on these, wait, can we try this instead? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's go. So there was one song that took us an entire year to write because of that. that particular scenario, we were just, trading the song back and forth, and we thought we had a good demo, and then it was like, man, something's just not working. It's just not working. For the most part, the other songs came together really quickly. Like Eamonn said, like they were just pretty much like slam dunks. And then, there was like 1 or 2 tracks, especially this one track that, Maryjo wrote a long time ago.
I wrote it well before the pandemic.
and it took us until very recently
to
like,
just finished it.
Get it done. It was
recording it.
It was the last song completed for their album.
So we've mentioned the album a couple times.
Yeah.
What can we expect as far as release? Are you going to release a few more singles? You mentioned Delaware. What's the plan?
We're definitely going to release one more single at least. I think after that one, we might discuss and evaluate if we want to put out a third. But I don't think it'd go past 3. And then this full record, we already have a name for it. It's Can I Be Frank? So it's Dear Daria, Can I Be Frank? And it's 10 songs. We don't have a time yet, and that's because we're not sure like if we're going to do 2 or 3 singles. I mean, once we get that figured out, it'll be better. We'll better have an idea as to when the album can come out. But we have a video for Delaware, and we've been talking about maybe doing a couple other videos for some other songs. So there's a lot that's up in the air and that we're still toying with. And I mean, I'm also like trying to crowdsource from people like, what do you guys want to hear or see from us? Like, so,
There's also I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's also, I think every band is going through this, right? Like we're all trying to figure out how the music industry and how the music world works. after this pandemic, what works better, how comfortable do people feel going back to live shows? What do live shows even look like after this pandemic? So all of that stuff is sort of tied into the release of the record, and just trying to find and create the right time and space for it to share with the world. But I think I can speak for everybody when I say that we're more than ready to get this record out of our hands.
Yeah.
Live shows. You're eager to play, I imagine. Like,
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, someday.
We have offers, and I mean, people are just, as eager as everyone is to go to shows, bookers are very eager to start booking shows. Bands are really eager to start putting bills together. I mean, you name it. Our entire industry that was just flattened by, this pandemic is really ready. I mean, just as ready as everybody else is to get it going. So there's been offers. It's just sort of like, I mean, it's the churn right now, I mean, it's insane with the level of excitement, the level of information, about it's some places have closed permanently, other places are opening, some businesses that were just crawling along, struggling, are like, please, like, let's, get it going with a bang. So, the timing is like, man, I mean, we want to be part of the, the excitement, but we also, don't want to get lost in the shuffle, because we think we have something really special to present. And I think we're just kind of biding our time, taking a little bit more of a targeted approach this time, rather than just getting out on the first bill that like came along. Like, yeah, I mean, there's stuff that we're excited, to be a part of. We're just kind of, discussing, and we are definitely very, very eager. It is very hard to practice, some restraint at this time and place, when so much of our identities are wrapped up in the music scene, here in our area. I mean, all of our friends are musicians, I mean, we are all very, very eager to like get back out there. It's taking a lot of restraint not to just like hit the road, hit this, hit the clubs like right now.
right.
But
That said, we're entertaining offers, so
Great. So probably an announcement of some show soon, then, I would imagine.
hopefully.
yeah, I would imagine, if we're looking at timetables, like the fall, so early or late summer,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Great. So you guys called Dear Daria a choose your own adventure band, which I find an interesting turn of phrase, and I'm wondering if you might elaborate.
Oh, we're all very old, so you choose your, well, we're not all very old, but those of us that remember choose your own adventure books,
Well, I think
nostalgia.
Nostalgia, sure, but like more so than that, I feel like each of us individually comes from a very like unique musical place, and our instincts are very distinctive, and so the amalgamation of all of that can be eclectic. And so that's why I'm like, choose your own adventure. We've got Josh, who you can see behind him is like a huge fan of The Cure, lots of like dark gothy stuff. And Eamonn can get really down with like funky time signatures, and the way he approaches playing bass is just it's different than anyone I've ever heard before, and I mean that in the best possible way, obviously. It's just it's not just, I mean, I play bass occasionally, and I'm like strictly on the root notes, so it's like what he does is mind-boggling to me. So and Scott is really into like progressive rock. So it's just this weird coming together. Oh, and I forgot myself. Like I'm really into like the Beatles, so like pure pop rock. So I think this like combination of things makes for a really unique output. So that's why I'm like, choose your own adventure. You could go the Josh route. You could go the Eamonn route.
Maybe what that's like kind of condensing is that I think that, you know, there's something for everyone in almost every song that you listen to and that you hear from us. You know, I think there if you're into, you know, like type pop harmonies and you know, the kind of chordal structures of like, you know, tight, you know, short like pop music, that's there. If you're into pop punk, that's there. If you're into like, you know, dark ethereal textures, that's there. If you're into like, you know, super tight rhythms and like almost lead like bass lines, I mean, just, you know, these runs that Eamonn goes on, like that's there. If you're into like these little, you know, hi-hat flourishes, these bells on the ride, like, you know, these little double bass parts that are in there from like, you know, these accents, all these little kind of things are like in there. There's something for everyone in almost every song that we do, you know.
Yeah, and I think when the record does come out, it'll be a perfect, you know, demonstration of that fact, which is that no two songs sound the same. And I struggle all the time with that question of like, what's your genre? Because I'm just like, what isn't our genre? You know, we do a little of a lot.
Well, this, if I can just add like one final bit, like this is one thing I think we're all very cognizant of when we're crafting our parts or bringing ideas to the table. Like we all want to serve the song. So, you know, no one part is ever going to be viewed as like so important that, you know, why, you know, no one has such an ego that's like, well, this has to be in there because it's my favorite thing I've ever done, you know. We all at the end of the day, we all really appreciate good songwriting, and that's all, you know, that's our main goal at the end of the day with each track. And you know, yes, like each track can have these little bits and pieces that are influenced by a myriad of musical ideas and influences, but at the end of the day, if we feel like something isn't working or not gelling, then we'll retool it, we'll change it, and then hopefully come up with something better.
Great. Have either of the bandmates ever pushed another sort of outside of their musical comfort zone? I'm curious now after listening to this a little bit.
Constantly.
I think I'm usually the first one to like raise my hand and be like, this rhythm is not working for me. Like, can we change this and swap that? And Josh, like, he's like really a master, I think, of coming up with these beautiful, lush guitar textures. And you know, if anything, he's always like sort of edging Maryjo to explore like the spaces that he's creating. Like, you know, what if you added a harmony here? What if you layered this vocal there? What if you added more keys to this part to really amplify the textures that, you know, the tapestry that I'm creating? So yeah, we're all pushing each other, but we all recognize, you know, like I said, at the end of the day, we all recognize that the song needs to work for someone who's outside the band. You know, we want to create music that other people are interested in. So we're never letting that get too far.
I would just piggyback on that by saying that I feel like I'm constantly pushed outside of my comfort zone because like I said, we all have our own, you know, definitive instincts, but mine are, I think, typically like more straight ahead, you know, 4/4 pop rock. And every so often, Eamonn will be like, I don't think we should do a long outro. I think it should just be like a bam, song's over. And to me, I'm like having a panic attack. Like, can you do that? Is that a thing? But, you know, like he said, like, I don't think any of us have an ego that is so big that we're like, no, we couldn't possibly do that. And so inevitably, I just kind of try to say, you know what? It might feel weird, but give it a shot. You know, play it 2 or 3, 4 times, you know, see how it feels. And over time, I end up going, you know what, that was the right decision. And I'm, you know, and that's why, back to the other question about, you know, why Dear Daria, why now, why not Maryjo Mattea anymore? That's exactly why. It's because it's not just me anymore. It's like this much more collaborative process that I think results in more interesting music.
Great. Do you think, you know, you guys have worked on not just the Maryjo Mattea, but like a couple of other different projects, and do you think this is an evolution. I guess, obviously it's going to sound different, right? But I'm wondering how you would compare and contrast, say like Maryjo songs to the color palette to Dear Daria. And there's Endless Winter also, which I'm not as familiar with, right? So
Yeah.
um,
Well, it's funny because what we used to say was there's Mary Jo's band, there's Josh's band, and then there's Jay's band, which is color palette. But now that Dear Daria is like Mary Jo and Josh, it's less the Mary Jo band. But uh, Endless Winter, you can go ahead and describe that. I think that that's like post rock, kind of industrial sounding.
It's me indulging like every kind of whim I have, which is awesome because like I'm the captain of that ship, so I get to do whatever I want. But if I push myself in that arena because I'm not a natural singer, so I searched for someone to sing those songs for years. I mean, I had them for a very long time, and then was just like, this, none of that's working, so I guess I'll just do it myself. And so that was, talking about pushing someone outside their comfort zone. Like I have a difficult time playing and singing at the same time unless I know the songs really well. So I have much veneration for people who are able to write lyrics to their own music and just sort of effortlessly do that, like Mary Jo does, with like, pitch and diction. And I mean, it's astounding to me. So but yeah, I mean, Endless Winter for me is it's challenging in that way where I have to kind of put my emotions like, front and center, like all that stuff. But as far as everything else, I mean, it's just pure indulgence. I can be as heavy as I want to be. I can be as sad as I want to be. I can be as dark as I want to be. I can explore all of these themes where like I'm left to my own devices. So it's all me. At the end of the day, most of the songs are in their 5-minute range. I mean, who's listening to a song for 5 minutes? Some of them are a very few of them, but a couple of them are 7 minutes long. I mean, like, who am I, Soundgarden? Like, no one's listening to 7-minute rock songs. Like, you know what I mean? So
there are those of us still out there who do.
Oh yeah, but I mean, so that is me just, completely able to sort of let myself go in that scenario. I think the difference between like, the projects is what makes them special, what makes them unique. And I think it shows like how us as musicians, like what we kind of want to explore. Like we can be a part of Jay's project and color palette and expertly execute his vision, when we're in the live scenario, and help him, craft some of the songs and contribute and like, fit ourselves into his vibe, what he's going for in color palette. Mary Jo, her solo stuff, the same kind of thing. She's looking for, a message and people to kind of like execute that message. And at the end of the day, you've got somebody kind of signing off on like which direction that's going. What's interesting about Dear Daria is that there's no captain of that ship. We're all like rowing together.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle, man. But like at the end of the day, the music is much better for it. I think a collaborative process takes you into so many different directions. And at the end of the day, you kind of have to get cool with people being like, no. But I love and respect the people that I work with in these musical scenarios so much that like when they're putting a wall up and they're like, I don't think we should do that. And it's, as an artist, as someone who's like emoting, like for your job or whatever, you're like, ouch, man, that was my baby. And you want it to be one verse instead of two? And then you're like tears. But at the end of the day, like it ends up being such a better song. You're like, oh man, yeah, that's why I do that. That's why I love the collaborative process.
Yeah. But yeah, now I guess that means that Josh and I play together in 3 different bands. Color Palette, Endless Winter, and Dear Daria.
Yeah, and if you ever do
All
something,
three are so vastly different.
Do you have a fourth in you? Can you go one more?
I don't know about that.
man,
Maybe you can open for yourselves sometimes, right?
We have
Well,
done that.
that's happened. Yeah.
The Maryjo Mattea, the last EP release, we did in conjunction with Color Palette. So Josh and I were just on stage for 2 sets in a row.
Yeah. What an
Oh, and
interesting.
I did that once too when Endless Winter had their album release, and I
Yeah.
was playing in Two Dragons and a Cheetah.
Yeah.
So I did the Two Dragons and a Cheetah set, and then I stayed on stage for the Endless Winter set.
Suffice it to say, us and our various bands could occupy an entire bill of music.
Yeah.
That would be very different from band to band. Very, very different from band to band. If we were to play a show with just the bands that we play in or that we're in, that would be one of the craziest bills. Like,
God help whoever buys a ticket to that show.
yeah, you just be lurched in every direction.
Great. Hey, I went to as I wind down here a little bit, I have to ask a little bit about what's on your guys' walls. You know, we talked about the Cure poster behind Josh.
Yeah.
Mary Jo, I'm curious about your guitars there a little bit, and
yeah?
what else you might have. Are those your guitars that you play, or are they just?
No, those are all mine.
Yeah.
So I live with another musician who is a guitar player and actually owns more guitars than I do, but our whole space is less than 500 square feet. So he has relocated some of his to a guitar repair shop that he works out of in Rockville. I don't know if you've ever heard of the House of Musical Traditions. So they have a repair shop that's in Rockville. Anyway, these are all mine. Acoustic, a blacktop Fender Telecaster, a Fender Mustang bass, which is a short scale bass, because I'm really a guitar player, not a bass player. So when I play bass, I prefer a shorter scale that's more like a guitar. And then a thin line Squire Telecaster, which had all of the electronics replaced on it to emulate like the original, I'm going to get the year wrong, but it's like 1970 something thin line Telecasters. Because my partner Johnny, he's a guitar nerd, and when he got that for me for Christmas one year, and he was like, "This isn't just a Squire Telecaster. This is actually more like an original. It's got all the different guts. He replaced all the guts to it." So that's what's up there right now. I can't remember. I think I have like a couple more somewhere hidden under the bed or something. Maybe they're at John's shop. So yeah, those are my babies.
Great. You know, we've had the opportunity to see Johnny, by the way, Johnny Grave, before. So always appreciate it when he's in town. Well, he lives here, so he's in town. But whenever he plays nearby, always a plus. Anything else on your wall, Josh, that is worth pointing out there?
Yeah, I mean, you can just kind of see here. These are the records from my my previous band, Dance for the Dying. That if you're in the Washington D.C. area, you might remember that band from the 2010 through like 2014 era. And quite like if we shift a little bit, you can see this poster here. And it says The Silver Liners, Dance for the Dying, Ploy, and Two Dragons and a Cheetah. And that was the Rock and Roll Hotel. And that was January 11th, 2014.
This was a very important show.
Jay, yeah, so call it with the Silver Liners.
You froze, Josh.
And Matt, the drummer for the Liners, is also the drummer in Color Palette. Oh, sorry. Am I back?
Yeah.
You're kind of
Yeah.
I'm back.
We got the intro that it was an important show. But
Here, I'll tell you what. Am I coming through okay? Because I can explain it if he's all frozen. So Jay was in the Silver Liners with.
Yeah, I'll just Vanna White it.
with Matt. Josh was in Dance for the Dying. I was in Two Dragons and a Cheetah. That was the last show that the Silverliners and Dance for the Dying ever played. After that, Jay developed Color Palette. He went out to California, recorded a whole album by himself, and then when he came back, he was looking for musicians to play in this band. And Josh was like one of the first people he recruited. And then Matt also eventually became the drummer for Color Palette. And then later on, I then joined Color Palette. And I feel like it all came from that one show that all of us played together. It just happened to be the last show that 2 of the 4 bands ever played. So yeah, I feel like that's
and
a very
Chris
show.
is my Chris is my drummer in Endless Winter as well. He was the drummer for Dance for the Dying.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Great. Hey, since
And I rest in peace to Rock and Roll Hotel, by the way.
Yeah.
Their shitty closing couldn't have happened to a shittier manager.
Oh,
They died right before the pandemic though, so we can't blame the pandemic when they're disappearing, right? So,
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we know exactly who we can blame that on, though.
there we are. I do want to ask you guys before you go. Scott isn't here. Can you tell me a little bit about like how he got involved with the project and what he brings to it?
Scott and I met, I'm going to say in like 2011. We both moved to DC within a month or 2 of one another, and a mutual friend of ours from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, synced us up via email and was like, you guys are both cool people and you both play music. You should hang out and maybe play music together. And so he and I started playing pretty much right after that happened and have just developed a very good friendship over time. He has played on every Maryjo Mattea release, with the exception, I put out 2 bilingual songs over the summer, which are like kind of one-offs. So he wasn't on those, but like everything else that I've ever done, like as Maryjo Mattea, like Scott was playing drums on that. And so, yeah, what he brings to the table is like incredible drum chops. Like, I don't think I know, he's definitely like top 3 drummers I've ever seen, you know, just immensely talented and a super nice guy.
And really funny.
Yeah, very funny.
Humor is the most important thing for me.
He works at a hospital, so his day schedule is a little hard to manage, which is why he can't be here today. But
Yeah. Well, great. Hey, we're looking forward to seeing you live when you play a show. You know, Park Life DC concert reviews are our bread and butter. So hoping you'll keep us posted and, you know,
absolutely.
maybe we'll,
Yeah, we're going to put together an awesome bill for you to come and check out.
we're looking forward to it.